Hello everyone, and welcome to another Vinland Saga Manga review. This time, we got chapter 171. Hallelujah, we finally got it, right? I just made a video like half a month ago talking about, is this gonna be a huge hiatus? We don't know. Well, Yukimura did not disappoint. And I have to admit, this was one of the best chapters we've had in a while. Now, let's break down everything that happened in the chapter. Starting out from the kind of like opening page, you have Hild, and she's like crafting some stuff with some kids around her, and it says, oh, her late father was like a carpenter. And I'm just so glad this is kind of like a mini Hild chapter. Because I was very critical in the previous chapters of how we haven't gotten anything of Hild. Like, Hild is non-existent in this world. And she hasn't changed at all, like, throughout these 2 years they've been traveling. And she was kind of annoying, but in this chapter we get a lot more Hild, and I dare say we do see a little bit of development. Now, past the first page, we have Gudrid visiting some men by the pier. I believe we're in Iceland. We're still in Iceland. And these men, we've never seen these characters before. They appear to be some kind of like sailors or pirates or something, or ex-pirates maybe. And they're just holding this huge like wooden like plank, which I guess it's like a vital part for the ships. I don't really know what that thing is. Is it like a huge piece of wood that you can like row with it? Is it like something that has to do with like I don't know. They describe it in there, but it's a part of the ship basically. And this was made by Hild. And they're like, this is just the finest work we have ever seen. You know, she's an amazing carpenter. And Gudrid's like, oh, that's great, you know. Hild help you guys, wow. And when it comes to these two guys, I think we're gonna see them again, but they're not like they're not important characters in any way, shape, or form. I think we're gonna see them, and I think Yukimura's gonna probably draw them in the background in like future chapters or once we get to Vinland. But yeah, I don't think they're important. We didn't even get their names, right? Yeah. Also, if anyone's gonna die, they're gonna be the first ones to die in Vinland. Anyway. Yeah, I just keep my dream that Vinland's gonna be very dark. But anyway, we'll see. And then Gudrid like starts walking back, and like she's, Gudrid, she has this like very bubbly personality, and she says, "Oh my God, Thorfinn is the best," and she's being really cute and stuff, and then she starts thinking about like how every woman would want him, everyone would want him, which is not true anyway, because Thorfinn is not like the ideal man in this Nordic society, but let's forget about that. Anyway, and then she kind of like has this like weird process of thought, and she thinks, wait, Thorfinn is like very nice and very cute and very honest and a great man. Hild is very, I guess, competent in many things. Like, she knows how to like navigate a boat, which I don't know, like since when? I don't think we've seen Hild navigate boats. But anyway, she's a good carpenter. She's a good hunter. She's all of these things, which is kind of like dumb. This thought is just dumb. Yeah, and I'm like, Thorfinn killed Hild's father. There's no way in the world she will fall for him. No way she'll fall for him. Never. And now she keeps having these thoughts like, oh, she's such a useful ally and a great girl. Oh my god, and she starts like obsessing over it. I guess she has forgotten who Hild is, like what kind of like block of ice she is. Like she shows no emotion. Why would Thorfinn want her anyway? And what happens is you have little Carly, who has grown finally. He's practicing with like his bow and arrow, and he's tossing arrows and stuff. And I guess it's mentioned that Hild is like training the settlers into like being able to hunt. Which I'm like, really? Is little Carly gonna hunt anything? I guess maybe a rabbit or so. Anyway, and then and here's the thing: we see what I believe they are Ylva's kids, because they say, "Oh, it's Auntie Gudrid." So yeah, and they're practicing as well. I'm like, wait, is Ylva and the kids and her kids coming as well? Like, since when? Well, I always thought Ylva was gonna stay back in Iceland with her family. But why would you train the kids if that's the case? And then we get to the, I think, meat of the chapter where finally Gudrid meets Hild, and Hild is just grumpy as always. She's like, "Hi Gudrid, how are you?" Like she's just, yeah. And here's the thing. I would actually keep this thought for my Hild analysis video, because I'm gonna make an analysis on Hild at some point. Hild has regressed. Is that the correct word? Hild, over the years, she has actually lost parts of her character, believe it or not. If you go back and read the chapters where Hild was introduced, you will see that she had a lot more elements in her character and in her backstory than she has right now, or at least she had before this chapter. There was this carpenter side of her. There was this connection to religion that she had through her father, because her father was a very religious man. So these are concepts that Yukimura could have used to have her struggle with her religion, or like maybe pick up a Bible and be like, should I follow this or should I follow my rage and my vengeance and stuff? Yeah, she could have done more practical things and just put her crossbow aside, and just do a little bit of what her father used to do, an inventor and a carpenter. And that was my biggest, worry about Hild. That as time went by, it seemed like Yukimura had forgotten elements of her character. And she was just this angry huntress, She was Maiev. She was Maiev Sado song from World of Warcraft. Like, yeah, that's what she was. She was just an angry huntress. But now we get to see a return to these early chapters. And I think he went back and read them again. Because the whole carpenter side of Hild, it has never been mentioned ever since those first chapters. So he must have gone back and looked at them and said, whoa, look. So I'm so glad that Hild is getting more, is getting her old attributes back in a sense. And she's not this just grumpy hunter. This could slowly lead to a new arc for Hild. Like maybe she genuinely finds enjoyment in crafting stuff. And maybe eventually, when things get really dire in Vinland, she crafts something that saves them. And then you could see finally, a smile in her face, or like something like this. And I think that would be like a complete, like 180 from what we got to know her. I can't wait to see Hild smile one day, or like chuckle maybe a bit. Just, loosen up a bit. And I think this is the way to do it. Just focus on her more creative rather than murderous side, right? And now what happens is Hild and Gudrid notice three men approaching Thorfinn's hut. And we've seen these guys before. They are the tattoo gang, I'm going to call them, because they don't have names thus far. It's the guy that has this like vine tattoos on his face, who's like really kind of like angry, and he has this giant sword. He's like, I'm bringing it with me no matter what. You have the his friend who has like an X and an O here on his cheeks. And then we have a brand new character who is also in this tattoo gang that has like a tattoo of a triangle over his face. That's just dumb. Anyway, so these guys, they arrive and they say, we're not letting our swords here. We're going to bring them with us to Vinland. And Thorfinn, of course, is like, that is like the only thing I ask you to do. That is the one thing I ask you to do. Leave your weapons behind. And said, well, there's no way we can do this. What you gonna do? You know, something along these lines. And then Gudrid is like, oh, I knew this would happen. And Hild is like, wait a second, I'm making an observation or something. And the chapter ends with like a page showing like Thorfinn like ready to do something or to say something, and in the bottom it says in the next chapter, before Thorfinn makes his move, like Hild intervenes or something, or before Thorfinn can react, Hild intervenes. Now, I have already made a little bit of a theory about these guys in one of my previous chapters, actually, when they were first introduced, that maybe they're going to be the ones that are going to start the riot in like Halfdan's farm. And these guys really seem to be like villains, or like a mini villain for this arc, because this arc does not have a villain or any sort of like conflict. You know, they're just preparing for Vinland. So maybe these guys are gonna serve as like a minor sort of villain, or they could actually come with them, and then they can be the villains of the next arc, of the arc that they are still in Vinland. And I theorized that these guys are probably gonna bring weapons with them. Maybe they'll say that we're not gonna bring any. It's okay. It's fine, dude. But maybe they're gonna smuggle them into the ship somehow, like hide them somewhere. And when they get to Vinland, they'll be the only ones with weapons, and that will make them really dangerous. You know, because everyone else will be just unable to like react. So these theories still stand. If Hild intervenes, as the chapter says in the end, and she threatens them, or she's like, hey, he said no, you know, either do it or like I'm gonna shoot you with my crossbow or something. So if she like scares them away, that could possibly lead to them like making this sort of like ragtag group and attacking Thorfinn before he leaves for Vinland, and like maybe attacking Halfdan's farm as well, because this guy with the vines on his face, he said like he hates Halfdan. He's gonna chop him down one day, whatever. Or if Hild intervenes and they back up and they say, okay, fine, we're gonna leave them here, all right? They can still smuggle them in like another day or during the night when no one's watching. So these two theories still stand, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think there's no question about like Thorfinn's dedication to not harm. Like, I don't know what is Hild looking at right now. Is she expecting that Thorfinn will attack them somehow? Absolutely not. Thorfinn did not attack Floki, and Floki killed his father. He's not going to do it to some random dude who just wants his sword with him. Like, no. But maybe this could also play into Hild's new arc. Like maybe through this interaction, she kind of admits that, well, I don't know what I was expecting, Thorfinn. Really. Was I expecting that you would attack them after all these years? Maybe she does realize after this interaction that, what am I doing? You know? So this could lead to her growth and development as well. Now, overall, my thoughts about this chapter, I just loved it. I genuinely loved it. It's a chapter I did not expect to get, really. You know, a focus on anyone other than Thorfinn, and a focus on the old gang, you know, Hild and Gudrid and Carly, and not just on, like, Halvor. I mean, Halvor's okay, but anyway, I'm so glad we got that. I'm so glad we got a little bit of development in Hild. And we got a little bit of, like, Gudrid cuteness and stuff, and seeing how she struggles. And I think there could also be a small arc for Gudrid as well. Maybe when they do get to Vinland, and she does prove useful in any way, she'll be confident. She'll be like, yeah, you know, I am the best match for Thorfinn, and I am capable, and I am strong and whatnot. Sure. This chapter really made me feel that Yukimura has not forgotten the original, you know, group. And I like the fact that he's also adding a little bit of tension into the story as well, with these tattoo guys. We know they're not a big threat, but what if they become in the future? What if they become a major villains for the story moving forward, you know? And I like the fact that even in these times of, like, peace and in this calm, we do get a little bit of, you know, of, like, thrill and tension and anxiety, like, what's gonna happen, you know? I really like that. And it's just, this chapter feels Vinland Saga. And I know people will whine about, you know, this is not whatever, farmland arc. This is kind of like more bright, too bright. But here's the thing for me. For me, farmland arc was not about the grittiness of it. It was more about the character growth. Really, if you get down to it, sure, there were a couple of good fights and stuff and memorable moments, but it was really about Thorfinn's growth. So that's what I want to see. If I see character growth, I'm good. I'm fine, you know? And that's what we got in this chapter. So I'm just so glad. It was kind of short, and I do hope we get like 20, 25 page chapters at some point. But let's wait and see. I can't wait for the newest chapter, 172. I can't wait for us to get away from Iceland and finally get to Vinland, but I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing right now. So write down in the comments what you guys think, and I guess, what did you think about the chapter, about Hild, about Thorfinn, about Gudrid, anything you want. And well, if you want to see more Vinland Saga content, then check out my Vinland Saga playlist, which I have like a ton of videos analyzing pretty much anything on Vinland Saga. Characters, themes, motivations, moments, everything. So check these videos out, and I'll see you in my next Vinland Saga manga review, guys. Until next time, my fellow Vikings.